Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest. We're not disputing that, guys. It's how does Sonny Liston feel about it? He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
What's good? What's good? What's good? People's peace and blessings. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Tuesday. What's the word? How's everybody feeling? Wednesday's around the corner. It's good to be back. I hope, you're not taking your time for granted. It doesn't really seem like much when you're in the moment until you fast forward and then you go back in time and ask yourself, did I really use this to the best of my abilities? I don't want to ever feel like I kind of squandered something that I can't replace or get back. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to you. Shout outs to my writers, my poets, my content creators. You know who you are, where you are. Much love to you. If you were here earlier, I appreciate you for stopping in. I know I'm going to end up covering that case at another time. To be honest with you, I might even throw that in here tonight, but we'll see. Let me bring this up real quick as well. Do me a solid. Make sure you like, share, repost. Let the people know we're on. Follow everybody on the panel if you so choose to. I almost forgot one other thing here. Let me make sure I got all this right. This one might be a little sensitive to some people. I know, because most of us live on social media. And without social media, who are we? But it's something that needs to be discussed because, quite frankly, these apps are kind of destroying us and making it extremely difficult to have a normal, everyday lifestyle that doesn't require a button being pushed. I got Sydney in the building. We talked about doing this last week. I said I'm gonna go ahead and lock this one in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and bring her up. If Jason does pull up, I'll bring him up. I haven't spoken to him, but yeah, let's just go ahead and start the show off. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section. If you have any topics that you want to see us cover, email me, shoot me a DM. We'll make it happen for you if it matters that much. Yo.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. Not bad for a Tuesday.
Good. I'm doing pretty good too. Easy day. Yeah, I'm very, very excited for this segment. I've been thinking about it all day. And yesterday I'm like, yes, I get to go on some rants about people online.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, cool.
I don't know why this doesn't really bother people too much. Jason, what's going on, sir? Salutes. I know it's going to trigger a lot of people. I get it. It hits close to home, but we got to talk about it because between the attitude problems, between the increase or the lack of productivity in the academic area, it's just a lot. And like a lot of these kids don't have absolutely no respect for authority, for their elders, for rules, for anything. And so when you say we should go ahead and do this, and I know Jason is going to want to speak on this one specifically too, I'm like, all right, cool, let's go ahead and lock in. So TikTok parents, TikTok moms, TikTok dads, what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
Well, I picked this one because of two things. One, I have seen an increase in people broadcasting, frankly, abusive behaviors towards their children and attempting to normalize that. I've seen people broadcasting extremely disgusting circumstances for their children to live in. I have seen parents living with 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, even more, living in really small spaces, having like 4 to 5 kids sharing one bed, and a lot of the time, granted, there's a difference between that is your option, that is your only option, and people that are doing this willingly. There are a lot of parents that are doing this willingly because it gets them views on social media, and I've also, and then the other type of parent that triggered me to want to have this conversation is I've also seen an increasing number of estranged parents that their children have cut them off, and particularly mothers, they'll create these profiles to shame their children on social media and go off on that. Like, I've done everything for them. I created such a beautiful life, and I've done so much as a mother. They're ungrateful because they chose they're choosing their health over staying in contact with a parent. So broadly, just the idea that parents are now blasting their children, their children's problems, their own problems, their household secrets all over social media just for views. And I've noticed people getting more and more flagrant about it, where they almost have a confrontational attitude about it, where it's no longer even like, this is I just want to get this out there, this is informational, this is awareness, whatever. It's more like, yeah, this is what I do, this is how I treat my kid, do something about it, like, this is just who I am. So yeah, that's in general the types of things that I had in mind for this topic. I can also bring up examples if you need them.
So this is an interesting one, because I haven't seen very much of this except for what, Mel, you've shared, and to say that it's just for views, I don't think it's that simplistic. If it is for views, it's because they're getting paid to do so. So there's always going to be a different motivator other than just for views. Most people are not pathological like that. And the ones that are need to be hunted down like game. And what I've found is that the parents that normally do this, if they're not getting paid to do it, it's because they don't know how to parent their kids, and they're using social shaming as a way of getting their kids to fall in line. But here's the problem. The Gen Zers and the ones that come after Gen Zers are running into the exact same problem that Gen X had. Let me explain. Both of you, Mel, I'm not sure if you're Gen X. Sydney, I know you're not. But
millennial.
Millennial. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. But yeah, with Gen X, we were the ones that were raised. We were television babies. We were latchkey kids. We were the ones who were told, get the hell out of the house, don't come back until the shows come on, if you know what's good for you, in order to expel our energy or whatever. We were the ones that parents tried to do as little with because they wanted their own time. We were seeing this basic cycle over again. And the exact same kind of kids that grew up in Gen X without all the technology is now coming back around with the technology. You have kids who don't give a shit. You have kids who are very resilient. You have kids who are beginning to find their own way, who have a distrust or a contempt for authority because authority has failed them. And so it's no wonder you have kids acting the way that they do, because they don't think that there's any real, either they don't think there's any real repercussions for what they do, or they just don't care that there are repercussions because, again, they have to look out for themselves. Authority has failed them, and now they have to find a way of moving forward. This is the new fearless. People in my generation, we're the old fearless. We're the ones you don't mess with because we will step to you. We don't give a shit. And we're seeing that again. We're seeing a generation of people who do not care. They don't care what you say because it doesn't matter. Authority has failed them, and so they have to make their own way. It's a form of survival, really. And it was sad to see. It does go to show the amount of resilience that human beings have and what they're willing to do in order to take care of themselves. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be a good one. I yield the mic.
So I'm an 84 baby, and Jason, you are absolutely correct. One thing that I want to note, because I'm about generalities, I don't want to apply my personal experience to this, but I can say with certainty that as time progressed, parents wanted every ounce of me time that they could possibly get. When you think about it, you spending most of your time at work, you tired, you dealing with a whole bunch of crap. And then you got to come home, and then you got to, bless you, you got to come home and deal with disciplining and making sure homework is done, and fighting in the house, and cooking, and all of that extra stuff. So you eventually get worn down. It's not, a lot of people aren't built for it. I mean, to be consistent and to top it off. So you have to have a tribe, a mom and a dad. They're cohesively working together to bring the home under the same structure. And if one person is not willing to do their part, and the other one is laying back, being lackadaisical with the responsibilities and trying to put more of it on the other person, what I often notice is you just get tired, you get worn down, and then you start finding shortcuts and easier ways to get your kids to kind of behave. There's things that I remember always hearing. Put a little cough syrup or a little alcohol in your baby's bottle to get them to fall asleep or to get them to stop crying. Get them, put such and such on, put a cartoon on, put make them sit down and stop running. You started seeing that happen more and more and more, and then what happens? The folks that are looking at their ratings on TV, to the industry that is producing these toys and things of that nature, they're looking at the numbers. They're seeing a increase or a decrease in certain areas. They're trying to find ways to improve on profiting off of this stuff. How do we do it? Coupled with parents getting lazier, I think it's a combination of things. And matter of fact, you both spoke on some stuff, and I'm pretty sure that we're all on the same accord with this. Basically, you're telling your kids to shut up. I don't want to hear your mouth. I don't want to hear you screaming. Stop crying. Stop complaining. Stop whining. Do your homework. Go in your room. Don't come out until this. Don't do that. You don't call me at work. I don't want to hear nothing about what's going on in this classroom while I'm at work. If I gotta leave my job to come up here, such and such, I'm gonna whoop your tail. I'm gonna this. I'm gonna that. Parents hate leaving the job to come up to the school. They're not even participating in school no more. They're not even going to PTA meetings. They're not even talking to the teachers no more. Like, it's a lot. Jason, you're right. This is going to be a good one for a myriad of reasons. And the more and more you introduce devices, the worse it got. I'm gonna stop right there, though.
I think it's also just going off of what you're just saying. It's also a really detrimental situation because it's two-pronged. It's the adults having a problem with the addiction now, and now the kids also having a problem with the addiction, because while the parents are trying to maintain their addiction to social media, they're feeding their child's addiction to social media so they can get them out of the way. I have definitely noticed that, and we don't really have a lot of people today, at least the ones that put themselves out there on social media. People don't seem to know how to even interact with children anymore. Like, people just don't know what to do with them besides handing them something and just being like, do something with it. Like, people don't know how to play puppets or do simple little games, or and it might not even be they don't know how, but it's just so minimally engaging compared to the toxicity, the what's the word? Intoxicating the intoxicating atmosphere of social media and the internet and TikTok, and like just swipe to see endless amounts of videos and entertainment. Everything else is super boring. Like, I remember what it was like when I was super addicted to Instagram, when I still had it. I would find myself sitting on the couch. I wouldn't even be on the phone, but my phone would just be doing that because it was so used to having a phone in it. I was so used to having a phone in my hand. I noticed during that time period, I had a really hard time engaging with my kid because I would sit there and he would come up and he'd want to be like, read me a book. And I'd be like, oh, I'm just trying to sit here and be on my phone, and you're trying to come up here. Like, of course he's trying to. He's a child. That is what he needs from me. That is what a parent is here for. We are here to give them a life. We are there to give them experiences and expose them to things and teach them things. That way they can learn how to use their hands and their feet and their brain and everything, because at this age they really don't know anything. People, I don't know if it's this gap in understanding or lack of experience, but it seems like people just expect children today, a lot of people expect children to just be tiny adults, that we can just treat them the same way as we treat adults, and then we're upset when we don't get the same results as you would get from interacting with an adult. I've seen videos of people screaming at their children and being like, why can't you be respectful of me when I get home from work and blah 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 blah. And this is a 2-year-old. They're trying to rationalize with a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old knows, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm neglected right now because I haven't had attention that I need, or I want my toy or something. I need my diaper changed. Like, kids don't have the capacity to be like, Mom had a really busy day today, so let me play quietly up in my room until she's ready to play with me. Like, kids don't understand that. But we generally, especially people that have an addiction to social media, among other things, alcohol, drugs, gambling, shopping, all that other stuff, they don't have the emotional wherewithal to recognize this problem, to stop this problem, or to control their own behavior when it's disrupted. And so they end up just being overtly angry at the people around them, including their family members and their own children, because they aren't realizing that this anger is coming from the fact that they're hopelessly addicted to something. And that's just the body reacting to, don't take this away from me. But I feel this is why I love talking about this type of stuff, because people don't realize how fragile kids are. Like, kids are very resilient in one sense, where they will rebound and they will overcome things. Kids can overcome some extremely traumatic events and become wildly successful. Like, I've noticed a pervasive myth that if you're exposed to any sort of trauma, you're just going to become like addicted to drugs and whatnot, which yes, there's a correlation, but there's a choice to be resilient and overcome. But I don't know, it seems like we've kind of, as a society, have been infantilized, where we ourselves are kind of what's the word? When you choose to be helpless, and I see that pervading in parents, where they want the child to take on as much of the burden as they can, and so the parents are basically like trying to expect the child to grow up faster than they should, because the parents want to be lazy and want to be in comfort and be satisfied over wanting their child to have the best life possible.
So I used to have a similar viewpoint to you, Sydney. And then I really began understanding human behavior and the behavioral psychology and behavior economics. And a great book by Daniel Ariely called Behavior Economics. Totally recommend it. Something that everyone should read.
I think I've read that one.
Okay, fantastic book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It really talks about pattern recognition and about behaviorism. But even that falls short of understanding true behavior, which is something that I've really spent basically my entire life understanding. And seeing how things are kind of cycling around, it does give me hope. I'm not that worried about where people are right now. I mean, yes, people are, and you can't even just say that kids and adults, people are resilient. And they're resilient in many different ways. And when you become an adult, regardless of how you were raised, it becomes your responsibility to fill in the gaps. And you can't blame your parents any longer. I mean, yeah, it's fun, it feels great, but it doesn't do anything. You're still stuck. So at some point, you have to stop the blaming, the crying, the everything else, and just do the frickin' work. And yes, there are correlations for trauma and drug use, but I'm just gonna blow that right out of the water right now. So the adverse child experience test or quiz, I guess you'd call it, is meant to discover the level of trauma that a child has been under. 3 or less is like 1 or 2 is normal. 3 is kind of like on that borderline. 4 or more is considered problematic. My score is 5. And I experienced trauma as early as 4 years old. And from the age of 4 to 14, so a 10-year span of emotional, physical, and sexual trauma. And couple that with the fact that I also have ADHD. Now, people would say, man, you're fucked. You got no hope. There's no hope for you. And yet, I am one of I consider myself as being on the front line of thought leadership when it comes to human behavior. I rub elbows with a bunch of other people who are very successful. I'm part of organizations that really drive the understanding of what's possible with human behavior, business, and success. And I made sure to do that on my own. I created my success. No one was there for me. No one was there to guide me. There were more instances of me having to fend for myself than I had for people that were there to say, let me guide you. And you know what? I'm a better person for it. Because I did the freaking work. And so we can talk about all these things about what parents aren't doing, what they should be doing, how society is failing them. But really, it is an individual's responsibility to ensure that they are getting where they want to go. And there are plenty of other instances of this. Look at the band NWA. Most of them started off in squalor, either in Compton or in other areas where it was really rough. In the 80s, when police brutality and police corruption were at its best, One of its highest points, and this was way before Rodney King, and before all that stuff, before the riots, and there was a lot of stuff that was going down, and yet this group of people, of disenfranchised individuals who were told they were not going to do anything because of the areas that they lived in, became billionaires. They became one of the most wildly successful gangster rap groups, and they wanted to do great things. Dr. Dre, he sold Beats to Apple for $1.3 billion. And these are people who just had the drive to get things done. So yeah, sure. You can say that we have the technology and social media and all that stuff, blah, 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 that definitely adds to the stresses and the challenges that people have. BFD. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has different challenges. Whether it's social media, the Holocaust, whatever it's going to be. People, or even the Roman Empire. People are going to have challenges. And we are going to have to find a way to overcome those challenges. The challenges aren't the problem. The challenges are only the thing that we are dealing with because of the times that we live in. And that's it. I yield the mic.
It's just one thing to put accountability on a functional adult over the age of 18, or even going to the age where a teenager is old enough to be able to look at what they're doing and, say, all right, this is the environment I grew up in. That doesn't really make or break me. It's a whole different experience when you are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old and your mom has you dancing on TikTok, shaking her ass every single week, doing baby daddy videos and doing sexy red monologues and reenacting these little mischievous, we're going to pull up on this person and execute this person. And it's different when you got your grown ass parents introducing you to a lifestyle that you ain't signed up for. I understand where you coming from, though. I think a lot of us have been in that space, but what do you say to a child that was pretty much thrown into this shit, that didn't have no say-so in what they were watching and what they were around? What do you say to them when they pick up on these habits and they've damn near assimilated all of those characteristics and memories from seeing mom getting Uncle Peter and cousin John constantly visiting the house, and they don't realize that that's not really your uncle or your cousin. And the reason why I threw the brick through such and such window and I recorded it and put it online for the world to see was because it's going to generate attention and bring money to my pocket so that I can fund my hair, nails, and makeup. What do you say to kids that are still too young to be able to put themselves in the position of a Sydney or a Jason and say, look, I'm not about to let this dictate what I'm going to become later on in life, if they've already been so used and accustomed to doing it that they are actually becoming the representations of what they were already a product of? How do you get them out of that? Especially seeing as how they might have friends and they might have peers around them, teachers that'll step in and try to correct their behavior in a nice, friendly, look, I love you. I'm telling you this because I am somebody who understands the path that you're on, and I want to direct you in a different course, come listen to me. How do you talk to somebody like that when all they know is fuck you, get the fuck out of my face, shut up, you ain't my mama, you ain't my daddy, I'm gonna do what I want. This is my life. You don't run nothing over here. You know that sassy ass back talking ad hominem crap that these youngins throw out there. Yeah, with the little neck gesture and all that. Like, I put blame, or I give blame where blame should be given, or I hold people accountable to where they should be. But let's not act like we all just wake up one day and overcome what we were brought up on. Mind you, we're talking about, or at least what I'm gathering, you're speaking more or less about folks like yourself and me, or others that's they understand what happened. Like, I know this is why things are, but that doesn't make me, and I can do something about it. We're talking about teenagers and kids that are still in this social media space, and all they rely on is social media and computers and laptops and iPads, and everything is motorized or computer generated apps, and they're not even at that point where they really can comprehend what you're talking about. Now, Sydney said something that I felt when you was like, you will pick up your phone and you'll be scrolling, and then like you look down, you look up, it's 8 o'clock, and the sun done went down. Your peoples is looking for your attention, but you've been consumed by your app so long. I know that sucks. I know it would make me feel a certain type of way, and I've felt that before. When you look at your parents, you don't know that your parents are consumed. You don't really understand that they have an addiction. Why would a child care about that? The only thing they know is your mom, your dad, I'm coming to you for something that I don't want to go to something else for, and we are depriving them of that. I yield the mic.
First, I realized I forgot to finish one of my thoughts from the previous answer. One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of these moms use their trauma as an excuse for their behavior, where they say, well, it's okay for me to do this because I've been traumatized. This is what my mom did to me. I'm still in the process of breaking the cycle. And I can understand that, but what I have a problem with, I don't have a problem with you working on yourself. I have a problem with you broadcasting it in a way that is for shock value. If you're broadcasting it as an educational tool, I struggle with this, I have this habit with my child, I have done these behaviors to my child, it was a mistake, this is why, this is what I do instead, this is how I stop myself, I'm totally fine with that content. It's be open about it, be understanding, be real, because we do need that. We need that information out there. Mothers are more disconnected than ever before. We don't have those communities rallying around young mothers anymore, showing them what's normal and what's not with child behavior and your own behavior when you're going through the process of, especially when you've had a pregnancy, the hormonal effects on your body and the breastfeeding and all of that stuff can have really crazy impacts on your mood and your behavior, the way you think. And so I think it's really crucial for mothers to have a community when they have children, especially if they don't have a spouse or family members around or friends around to help them who also have kids. But I really, really take issue when they're broadcasting how they treat their children, trying to normalize it, and essentially getting paid to show off how they mistreat their children. A lot of these people, in a lot of the examples that I in my head, don't even offer the bare minimum, where the house is still a mess. They're in many instances, they're screaming at their children. They're calling their child names. They're sitting on the couch and ignoring their child while their child is begging the parent to do something with them or play with them. In some of the worst cases, some of these parents have been absolutely neglectful. One of the names on that list actually ended up getting arrested for how she treated her children. But every single parent I listed has put their children up on social media for views. The only case that wasn't where they weren't children was Diane, the one that I mentioned. But all the other ones were them putting up showing their children's lives, which were very often in disarray and often featured behaviors that all three of these people that were parents, with exception to the estranged mom, all of them have had CPS called on them because of what they showed in their videos. And so that's the stuff that I really have the problem with, is people have these monetized videos featuring this type of behavior and essentially normalizing it, saying it in their own words, trying to dismiss some of the stuff that they're doing. And yeah. So really the I wouldn't call it glamorization, because it's not really that. But just the way that it's portrayed on social media, I think it's really distasteful. And I just feel really bad for the children that are one day going to grow up. They're going to be teenagers in high school hearing about this from their friends, seeing these videos that their mom posted, like, oh, your mom lived like that, your mom treated you like that, your mom was acting like that. Especially like the ones that you're mentioning, where they're dancing provocatively, or they're like engaging in weird behavior. So in many ways, I feel bad for these kids of what they're going to be exposed to, their lack of privacy, their lack of their lack of what's the word, being able to have control over their lives, agency, especially because some of them who have moms that are frequently doing this, that are constantly rolling the camera, they basically dictate every second of their kids' lives. And these poor children have no choice but to briefly get an eye roll in the background while she's setting up the camera. But for the most part, they have to sit there like, I love when mom does these videos. We love these family vacations. We're all having so much fun. And in the background, Mom, why do we have to do this again? So, yeah, it seems to me that there's a generation of children's lives that are being stolen by this addiction to minute fame.
So I'm just going to reiterate what I had said before. This is nothing new. It's just lipstick. It's just new lipstick on an old pig, and it is the exact same kind of emotional abandonment that we've seen. The only difference is that there is now more access to better information at the click of a button than ever before. And I didn't have that when I was growing up. The tools that I have access to, that I'm able to use to facilitate my own healing, the kind of programs that I can create or the kind of research that I can do, I couldn't do back in the day. And I would have killed to have that kind of access to this kind of information. I have it now, which is great. The things that you're mentioning, Sydney, this is not a social media issue. This is a behavior issue. This is an abusive parent. This is an abusive relationship issue. And the.
Do you think social media enables it though? Like it makes it more easy to produce this type of behavior?
No, I think it just makes it more visible.
That's fair.
I don't think that there's any more proclivity because of it. I just think that it's more in our face because of it. I think we're more exposed to it. But there's also a good thing that happens with that. Yes, there are some amoral people out there that do amoral things, but there are also very moral people out there that do very moral things. Mm-hmm. And when they come across this kind of content, it's like, screw that. Mm-hmm. It enhances the ability.
More evidence.
More evidence of what not to do, exactly, yeah. or what can happen if you do this kind of thing. So they're both sides of the issue. To just condemn it and say, well, this is what the issue is. I don't think that that's the case. I think what we're seeing is that we're just seeing another way of bad people who are going to behave badly, using a media that allows them to behave badly, and then just broadcast it. That's it. It's just more in your face. It is more seen than it was before. Honestly, I think that's a good thing because the more it gets seen, and what I'm beginning to notice is that there is this developing inoculation to social media, to the dopamine chasing, to this kind of thing that is naturally developing. I mean, human beings, God love us. We are adaptable creatures, probably the most adaptable species of any other species alive. Yeah. We are the most adaptable. And so we have this kind of information. TikTok is beginning to slow down. Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, they're all beginning to slow in their consumability. Before, when it was novel, it was a thing. Sure. And people began to doomcast about the fact that people are doing this on a novel scale. It's novel. People are going to do things to a grotesque degree when it's new. But as people become more understanding of it, they become more. It becomes more acceptable. The lust begins to wear off. You're going to see a natural taper off and a natural resistance build up to the effect of what this is supposed to do. A rewiring happens, and so. Yes, we're seeing that anything that is out there can be used for good and can be used for bad. Anything. Pick something and I'll demonstrate it. Guaranteed. It could be as simple as a top torture device. Sure. It's. I mean, where did we got butt plugs? Just kidding. But it's. Thank you. It's just that the discernment that people have, and that the majority of people are creating. It is not the medium that is at fault. It is the people involved, and people who are more insecure, who have a greater desire to be liked, to be recognized, and to be seen as worthwhile, because inside they have like a negative 50,000 level of self-worth. They're going to be the ones that are going to be most on social media, where the ones who are more secure, the ones that have more self-worth, that feel like they have something to offer, they're going to go where they're needed. They're not going to be the ones that are going to be putting things on blast. You're going to see that this is basically going to be seen as the new Jerry Springer of activity. I'm dating myself there by mentioning that show. That mopo, whatever you want to call it. You are not the father. It's going to be the new media for that. And this is just it is another cycle. I think what we need to do is take a step back, take a breath, and really see what's going on. People are resilient. Kids bounce. Adults find ways of being able to regulate themselves through social interactions and through their own personal development. And because of that, I see that there's a lot of hope for society. And I think the word that you're looking for before was sensationalization. rather than glamorization.
Yes.
And yes, while it is being sensationalized, that which is sensationalized oftentimes eventually gets discerned by those who are like, is this really what I want to spend my time on? Eventually, there's a tipping point of the indulgence versus survival, and which one is going to win out. Survival always wins. Survival always wins. So indulgent begins being seen as something that becomes a liability. That which is a liability gets ignored. And eventually you have an evening out of the playing field. Yes, we have these moments where something novel comes along, oh my God, the sky is falling. But eventually it does even out. It comes to a point where it has to normalize. It has to come back to a baseline. Because if it doesn't, then that puts the entire enterprise in jeopardy. I yield the mic.
You got a bunch of adults still trying to heal, a bunch of women trying to heal, but still practicing adult-like activities with other adults, producing children in the midst of their brokenness, trying to rationalize for their excuses. And I understand. I'm a very optimistic person. I believe change can happen within 5 minutes. A miracle can happen as soon as you snap your finger. I am that person, but I'm also a realistic. I bear bad news type of a person as well, and it sounds all fine and dandy when you put it like, oh well, I'm 21, I'm 22, 23 years old. I was a horrible, rambunctious human being in my teenage years, but I'm older now, and I realize that I can't allow what happened with my mom, my dad, to dictate or be the thing that makes me turn into them. Let me go ahead and change my life around completely. It sounds simple and it sounds easy, but we know it's not that simple. And we know with all the technology that's out here in the world, everybody is not running to a therapist. Everybody is not running to a counselor, because most people do not like being told about their deficiencies. A man is more likely to be told whether or not he's inadequate or not versus a woman in that regard. And that goes all across the board. We're both stubborn, hard-headed creatures. But if you're still 20, if you're like, I give you an example. Vivica A. Fox is 60 years old and she got a BBL. What the hell are you doing at 60 years old getting a BBL? She spends half of her time talking about Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, about how she regrets not being more feminine and how she let go of a good guy. And she's still at this age acting as if she's a teenager, getting all these operations done on her, talking about she won't settle for a regular guy. The guy still has to make as much as her or more than her. She still has that same attitude that she had when she was younger. And I brought her up because, like you said, change is possible. Well, she's 60 years old and still acting like a fucking kid. You 60, you supposed to be married by now. Why aren't you married by now? Why are you getting surgeries that could potentially take your life? Why are you trying to compete with younger women at 60 years old? You're 60. Holly Berry just went on the Met Gala with a dress on at 58 years old that shows her pubic hair. The only thing that wasn't showing was the lips within the dress. Everything else was there, and you're 58 years old. That is what I see. And then you add on the fact that y'all don't want to really be a part of any developments that your kids are a part of. You're not making it easier for them to understand that what you're doing is not conducive to what they got going on. I really want to believe in what you're saying, bro. I do. And I hate to say it like that, but unless you're a proactive parent and you're really like on their helmet, and if you're doing this, you're going to end up like Vivica Fox, Lisa Ray, and the rest of them older chicks that still think that they can be a 304, be out here doing this. I don't know. It's just ridiculous to me to even to say, because bruh, I went to school with dudes my age, and one thing that we all had in common, right? When we were when we were going to school, we were carrying lunch boxes, and I wasn't really out there in the street like they were. They kind of was, but we always saw the older guys at the liquor store sitting outside, smoking, drinking. And, we just kids, we don't think we're going to be that person. And then when you get to 20, 30, 40 years old, and then you driving past them same liquor stores, and you see the same guys that you was going to school with are the same guys that we saw when we were kids out there doing that. It's hard to really say that social media doesn't have a part in what's going on. I mean, granted, a lot of damaged humans. I call it. I think it's some form of abuse. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're a damaged soul, and you're trying to raise other human beings, you're kind of taking out your stuff on them by being irresponsible, because you can't properly take care of another person when you can't even properly take care of. So I do feel like that's a form of abuse. But I will give you this, right? I don't think social media is the real culprit here. I think it's a tool. I think it's just being used to get the kids out of their face. But if you're letting social media raise your kids, then what's on social media? It sure as hell not a day of Jason or a day of Sydney talking about science. It's sure as hell not a week's worth of that. You got a variety of depravity every single day you scroll up and down. So you're not filtering it. You're not funneling out what the content is going to be on their screens. I'm gonna stop right there though. But
I'm curious what you guys think of what should should this content be allowed as an example? Should it be taken down if people put up content of them actually like doing things to their kids. I'm just curious because I've heard an argument made similar to leaving up statues of people from history as a lesson for the future, but keeping that types of behavior in the public eye. And like a lot of this stuff is immediately removed off the internet. People can't see it, but I've heard the argument to keep it up. That way people can know the signs, learn from it, learn to identify it and stuff like that. I'm just curious what your argument would be with that.
Okay, a statue and a video are two very different things.
I know. This was from an article. This is not my own opinion.
Right. So no, I'm going to push back hard on this. And then I'm going to address something that Mel had said. So it is totally different. So one is to remind us of history, something that happened in history, and to explain how it happened. Leaving up a video and then using, oh, that's history. No, that's not history. That's fucking abuse. And that should be taken down. If it is going to be left up, it should be left up as a documentary series that people are going to be able to study and then show the studies of. Mm-hmm. Use it as, if you're going to give apples to apples, it needs to be given the same kind of treatment that history was, shown in a light that is educational and
reframed.
Reframed, exactly. Given as is absolutely not. Something you had said, Mel, about Vivica A. Fox and Halle Berry. These two are pigs. And these are women who have bought into a delusion that they can compete, but these are also examples that are outside the real world. These are people who are ultra wealthy, who have more time than sense, more money than intelligence, and are willing to do whatever it takes to be in the public eye. This is not indicative of regular people. And that distinction needs to be made. Mm-hmm. People like this, these has-beens, these people who just, I look at them like, ugh. But it's the kind of thing where I'm like, why are they still relevant? They're ugly as hell, and they obviously past their prime, and they need to just kind of like be models of what can be, rather than trying to stay being relevant. So it's like they're trying to chase something that they are no longer entitled to, believing that they should be. And yeah, it just that kind of comparison doesn't make sense, because this is an example of someone who is absolutely entitled, who has the money and the influence to be able to force themselves back in the spotlight while trying to remain relevant. I saw this one meme where in 1,000 years, when we dig up when we do archaeological digs, women all they're going to find are skeletons with silicone implants in their ass, their chest, and their lips. And that's pretty much going to tell you everything you need to know about our society. But it's important to understand that this is not indicative of the culture. This is just indicative of trends. Because people who try to become influencers are only influencing trends, not culture. I yield the mic.
That reminds me of another similar one where they were at a dig site and they uncovered a human body, but it was basically just like the implants in the chest and the implants in the butt that was left, and nothing else of the body except that. And they're just like, what is this? Yeah. Well, what was I gonna say? Man, I distracted myself at that point. Mel, you should go first. I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
The reason why I brought up Halle Berry and I brought up Vivica A. Fox is because, for one, Halle Berry was always a sexual icon. Even when I was growing up, she was one of those ones for me. Now, I don't say that she was the most beautiful woman in the world because like I can walk up and down the street and see somebody who is equivalent to her or surpasses her. That's just how I look at it. I don't. But what my thing is, if Beyonce speaks, the women listen. All you single ladies came out, the women listened. Sexy Red comes on, the women listen. When the music drops, they will dance in the store. They will dance in traffic. You tell anyone about Sierra's prayer, oh, I'm going to find my Russell Wilson. So to even suggest that there is no correlation is it's impossible to even think that, because we see them mimicking these people all the time. For fuck's sake, they dress up like them for Halloween. I've seen people dressing up like Ariana Grande. There's people on Twitter right now that romanticize her. There's people right now who romanticize Sexy Red, Cardi B. These are grown women. These aren't even children that's doing it. You emulate what you idolize, and a lot of these people idolize these people. And where do you get the most access to them? The internet. The parents are responsible for what you look at and hold value to. If I'm overlooking my son, you're not about to sit up here and fucking worship no damn Scarface. You're not about to idolize no Al Pacino. You're not about to idolize no fucking Donald Trump. You're not about to sit up here and worship no gangster music. You're not about to emulate it. You're not going to pretend like you like that. You're not about to walk around with cap guns, toy guns, prop guns, water guns. You're not doing any of that. And a lot of people, they don't see the harm in it. There's a lot of men and a lot of women who don't see no foul in allowing their kids to be fixated or fascinated with that at all. That was my only point. And it's like, again, she's 60 years old. When Vivica Fox was on Independence Day, that was her peak, her prime. Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that was her prime. 60 years old, you ain't found you a husband, but you still got that same mindset and attitude. That only tells me that you just refuse to change. You're not going to listen to anybody. You've already got it stuck in your head that this is who you are. Nobody's going to change that. I don't care what you say. And I would rather die alone than to be told I need to make some adjustments to my personality or what I'm doing. That's exactly what's going to happen with these kids if they keep on following suit, going chasing after other people's opinions and their points of views. It's the same thing that's going to happen to these kids if they keep on listening to these influencers.
No, it's not.
What I don't know if it was. I think it was Sydney who said it. She said, "It's at a point where the child will backtalk or have like some like slick stuff to say back to you when you try to give them authority or something like that."
Yeah, I've seen
maybe
kids,
that's just me.
I've seen kids rebuttaling their parents, and some of them have been I mean, not that this is any different. People, like, kids have always been rebuttaling their parents, but just some of the kids that I've been seeing say things that I I would have been killed if I had said something like that to my parents. But then the parents just like don't even respond, or they respond in kind, which I guess that you can very clearly see where they're getting their language from. But I don't know. It just seems like we're allowing kids to. We're allowing their behavior to degrade, and a lot of parents don't seem bothered to do anything about it. I wanted to say one thing about celebrities too. One piece of advice that that's always stuck with me is, if somebody can pay to alter their image, you shouldn't trust them, because it's very likely that the image that they're giving you is paid for and it's not theirs. And that's something that I think we're starting to come out of it. We're starting to come out of that delusion of believing that what celebrities live is real. And so a lot of people are waking up to it, but there still are a large majority of people that think how the wealthy live is how they live. Like, they don't believe that what they put on social media is just a small sliver fragment of their actual lives. And they're not actually showing you their real lives. They're just showing you the parts that are going to get them views and are fun. And they think that their people would like, and that they're comfortable sharing. But I've seen this in the generation, I don't know where we're at right now, but the kids that are currently like 8 to 18 right now, and I guess Gen Alpha. I've noticed a lot of them have this strong belief that they're just going to be rich and famous, that they don't even have to work for it, that they're just going to like get out of school and have a 6-figure job, and that they're all going to be super fancy influencers, and they're going to have like 14 different cars. Like, they have these ideas because these are the people that they idolize. And it's this generation is in for a very rude awakening when they hit the job market and realize that is not what life is like at all for the majority of people. All this shit on TV showing people living these extravagant lives is fake. It's all fake. And I think we're finally getting to the point where that veil is lifting, and we're realizing just how fake it's all been and just how duped we've been. But yeah, there's still some people that are in that fantasy and still think that celebrities are up there with gods.
And it's not that this is something new. Again, this is just a repeating pattern. And this is what I've been saying the entire time. We've had breast implants for how many decades? We've had
the Bible.
Say again?
False idols in the Bible.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like breast implants, the ability to augment one's own body. This has been around for at least 20, 30 years in mainstream. And the one thing that I have to that can rebuttal all of this is the lived experience. Because yes, you have these people who can buy their image. I agree that they should not be trusted. I mean, anyone who can pay to change their image or alter the physicality in some way should not be trusted at all. They should be the opposite. They should be violently distrusted. And it's because the lived experience does not provide a sustainable way of being able to promote this. There's no viable way for reality to hold this true. And this is why people, when they're young, people are stupid. This is a fact. People are young and stupid. They have ambition. They think that their ambition is reality. I experienced it myself. We probably all did at some point, and we're seeing kids doing it now. And we're at this point where our parents were thinking that our children are doomed. And it's not true. It's an illusion. Yes, we have impersonable people who are celebrities. Yes, they do things that are lies, flat out absolute lies. No, this does not mean our children are going to end up like them, because reality does not allow it to. The lived experience is contraindicative of what people see online, on TV, in the experience of the social media influencer, the A-lister, or whatever. It is contraindicative, actually, that you're going to experience this. It is more indicative that life is going to be hard if you buy into this. And people are from many different generations, starting with Gen Z, going into Gen Alpha, are beginning to experience this. They're experiencing the pain of the reality backlash, that these things are going to happen. And good, I'm glad, because reality has to be a strong indicator of what is real. That's what reality is, a strong indicator of what is real. And people are going to constantly be buffeted against the cliffs of reality as they think of themselves as this strong and mighty wave that is going to change the face of the nation or change the face of the world. And then they realize, bitch, you ain't getting nothing. Just, do what you got to do. Sure, make an impact, but understand that there are limits to what you can do. And you can't do anything alone. And so, yes, you're going to come up with all kinds of arguments. You're going to tell me that these people are people that others are sensationalizing or idolizing or whatever. The lived experience is going to provide a very harsh indicator that they cannot live like these people. Or if they start to, how miserable their life is. And either the change that they need to make or check out. Life is hard. And trying to emulate what you see on reality TV, in music videos, movies, online, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you're looking, thinking that you have the ability to live just like that is delulu. And the ones that persist that, well, there's a river in Egypt you might want to visit. I yield the mic.
There's a YouTuber that I love that always says things are delulu. And maybe I was like, have you seen him before?
Are you delulu?
Yeah. Every time, I don't know what it is today. Every time I start to talk, I'm like, wait, what was I gonna say? God. What was I saying? What was the last thing you were?
You got it.
What was the last thing you said? Because it was off of that.
Off of the fact that people need to the reality is hard, and that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed the people that seem to try the hardest to be like the rich are typically the ones that are putting themselves into debt to do so. So I definitely see how reality is going to kick in eventually, because despite the culture we've been in recently, that debt is always going to come back to bite you. And that is the most common denominator I've seen with people that are striving to be rich, is they will go out of their way to try and achieve the lifestyle without trying to do the work that is required to actually get there. And I think you're right. Once we start to, truthfully, I'm more than certain we're going to be facing some difficult times ahead, which is going to undoubtedly shape this current generation. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up becoming quite hardy, quite resilient, quite resilient. I also would not be surprised if we're kind of returning to a time where people are overwhelmingly starting their own businesses, starting their own practices, starting their own like art business, all that type of stuff. We're almost like a new type of renaissance, because at this point, that's going to be the only thing that's going to stand up against technology itself. We are now, as humans, essentially competing with technology to be the one in the spotlight between our work environments, schools, and apparently entertainment. Human beings are competing against technology. And I think while obviously it's very useful, I would not be who I am today without access to the internet and all of the things that come about with having the internet. But I think that in general, kind of like with celebrities, in regards to social media, we kind of have to look at it and be realistic with it. We have to understand the limitations of it. We have to understand its stake in our future and how it can affect our future, because we've been very, very passive with social media. We've been very passive with using technology because it enables us to be lazy. It's very convenient. It's very nice to have machines doing everything for us. But I think for our own good, it would be better to return some skills, at least, to human to humans themselves, like physically, because it just feels like it's a crucial part of humanity to have oh my god, I cannot talk today. Manual skills. I think it has. I mean, this is my own speculation. This is not based off of research or anything like that. But I have wondered if the general sense of like lack of direction, the fact that we're addicted to so many things, we're drawn to so many lifestyles that aren't ours. I think it's because we have this lack of direction. And I wonder if we started to seek out those things that actually fulfill us, if we'd start to see an improvement in general. Because if you start to achieve in the way that you deep down feel like you need to be, and you're not trying to chase everyone else's life, it allows for a level of contentment that kind of settles your life. I've noticed that even in myself, as I've gotten more sure in my direction and with my purpose, a lot of my idiosyncrasies and like OCD-ish type anxieties, a lot of my behaviorisms started to diminish because I had something else to focus on. I wasn't running around trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I think that is kind of what we're seeing, is we have people that just don't have a direction. And so they're chasing everything else around them that people are vouching, saying like, oh yeah, this is what you want to live, this is how you want to live, because a lot of people just don't have that sense of direction. I don't really know. This definitely isn't something that can really be remedied in a moment. This is definitely something that has to be nurtured in society, to start like listening to yourself and stop chasing external things, external people, but it's definitely worthwhile. Something that needs to be an ideology that needs to be spread, that stop caring about how everyone else lives. Like, live the way that matches who you are and what works for you, and really focus on building the life that you want. And I think that would really impact our kids too. That'll make our kids' life better, because if we're living better, if we're living a life that's self-actualized and that matches who we are, we're not chasing all these external things, they're going to copy it. They're going to live that life too. They're going to understand how to do it for themselves. So I think it's worth it for ourselves, for our kids, to quit ignoring everything else and focus on yourself in a good way. Don't be narcissistic.
So that was a lot. One thing I will say is that there is I am seeing a trend that while the traditional working stuff, especially the entry level positions, are there's talk about having them replaced by technology. Couple things about that. First of all, the idea of um, of artificial intelligence is way more hyped up than what it actually is. And we're going to see that there's a huge disappointment in the expectation versus the application of artificial intelligence. It's actually virtual intelligence. It's pretending to be intelligent. It is acclimate. It is performing
summarization machine.
It is a summarization machine, exactly. Because in order for it to be truly intelligent, it has to be aware of itself and has to be able to improve on what it experiences. And no computer has ever been able to do that, nor will it ever be able to. And therein lies the biggest thing. Now, switching gears, what we are seeing a convenience that is going to lead to something. You're absolutely right. It is going to lead to an increase of the social and the soft skills needed for connection and trust and creating purpose. And you nailed it right on the head, Sydney. Because when you said that you began to improve when you felt the greatest sense of purpose, when you felt like you had something to move towards. Yes, people are looking for things and people are grasping at straws, and that's natural. People do that. That's supposed to happen until you grasp oh, this is catching. I actually like it. Let's reel it in. And then you realize that there's a fulfillment there. We're coming to an era where, because information is so abundant, yes, confusion is widespread, but the possibility for finding out what your purpose is and gravitating towards it is also high. And so I have great promise for people. I don't care what the immediate experience is. That doesn't matter for the most part. There are some cases where that's not true, but for the most part, that doesn't matter, because the current experience just tells you where you are. And when you look at it as just that, this is where I am versus where I want to be, and this is where I could be, so much is possible. And I'd rather focus on what is possible than what I've lost. Because if I focus on what I've lost, I'm just going to experience what I've lost. But when I think about what's possible and what I can gain, regardless of where I am, and what I can attain and how I can grow, regardless of what life has thrown at me, man, life is good when we look at it from that perspective, because you realize that growth is not only possible, it's inevitable. You have to grow, or you cease. One of those two things. You either grow or you cease, and that's it. So if you're not ceasing, it means you're growing. And if you're growing, it means that you are making strides. They might be minuscule. They might be incremental. Who cares? 1% better. That's all you got to strive for. And as long as you have that mentality of always striving for 1% better, maybe even 0.1%, as long as it's not negative growth, as long as you're not intentionally backsliding, and you are learning from what you are experiencing, and you are getting better because you want to be better than what you've experienced, then you are going to win. And that's the biggest thing that we have to take away from this. I'm going to yield the mic.
My hopes and prayers is that everything that you said is true. That this generation doesn't suffer because of generational curses, and they don't suffer because of social media, and they don't allow social media and the brokenness of their household and the brokenness of their communities to subdue their progress. I really, really pray for that. When it's all said and done, when the smoke clears, I am with you both 1,000%. I have no dog in this fight other than I want to see change. I want to see more positivity highlighted. I don't want to keep seeing the ratchetness. I don't want to keep seeing I did this because of what happened. I want to see this happened to me, but look at me now. I want to see more of that. That's pretty much where I'm at. I'm praying for it. I'm going to believe in it just as well as everybody else up here. It is rage bait. A lot of these conversations are rage bait. What I would like, and I mean, hopefully, like anyone who is going through, I would love for them to come across this video, just sit and marinate on it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if you realize that you're a part of the problem or a part of the evolution, but it's something to think about. And I'm glad we did this today. This was a very, very I can breathe a little easier after that. I ain't gonna hold you. My best of wishes to everybody out there. Don't let social media take you and consume you until like don't find out 5 years later that this shit is not what you thought it was. Don't wait that long. Try to go ahead and figure this out right now while you still like. I'm gonna leave it there, man. I'm gonna leave it there. Pretty dope show though. Pretty dope show, man. Shout outs to both of y'all. Shout outs to everybody watching. Actually, we do not. To answer your question, hit me up after. We'll wrap. I know it's getting late, so I'm gonna bid everyone adieu. For everybody who pulled up and watched the stream tonight, I want to say thank you from wherever you're watching from. I hope you got something out of the conversation tonight. Comments, questions, concerns, topics, email me, DM me, shoot me a message. We'll set something up for you. Jason, Sydney, as always, love these back and forth. Thank you for getting my juices flowing and pushing me to really like get involved with this, man. This was fun, man. I ain't gonna hold you.
I enjoyed it.
Absolutely was. Yep.
I'm glad I requested to do this with Jason. I very much enjoyed the feedback. I've been working through it. It's good.
Nice.
Yeah. I even referenced some of it yesterday.
Nice.
Yes.
What where are you in the book?
I'm in towards the end of chapter 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's that's where it starts getting good. Like it's a bit of doom and gloom, like chapter 2. It's like ugh, but then once you get past that, it's like oh okay.
I like learning about the focus bit. That was really interesting. Acronym.
Focus.
Or was it focus?
Shade.
Trace.
Yeah. Okay.
Trace.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we about to get up out of here.
Oh, sorry. I said thank you for hosting the topic. I really enjoyed talking about it.
All love, man. We'll be back tomorrow. Me and Sydney. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night.